Hey, everybody, it's Joe McGovern here at TheWrap studio at the Toronto International Film Festival. And I'm here with a very powerful film that's premiering, or has premiered
Yeah.
last night.
Yeah, last night.
Director Chris Andrews, actors Chris Abbott and Barry Keoghan, Bring Them Down. I've seen it, it's exceptional. And it's a first film which people will be very surprised by. Uh, where did it come from? It's a story, not many characters, maybe a half dozen total characters in it, uh, but a sort of a almost a primal tale of family and conflict in Ireland. Where did the ideas for it start?
I mean, the initial idea came walking in the Lake District in the north of England in the rain one New Year's Eve, and I was just walking up and thinking about just sort of mulling over what stories and something that I would like to write, and just looking at the location, it felt like something so beautiful and underutilized by sort of the British film industry. So thinking about that landscape, and then this kind of shepherd just walked up through the mist over the mountains. We were all in wet weather gear and hiking gear, and he was just wearing like jacket and his boots and had a dog, and he just seemed like this incredible sort of stoic mythical character. So that was the first germ, and then thinking about the parable of the good shepherd. Bring 100 sheep down, you're missing one, so you go up to save the saved souls. But what happens if somebody fucks with your flock while you're there? And then marrying that together with the spate of rustling that was happening in Cumbria at the time, where people were taking the hind legs off sheep and just letting them bleed out.
We should mention that is an element of the film, but I think viewers, I'm sure they know this, but no animals were actually harmed, even though it's a realistic seeming part of the movie.
Yeah, yeah. No animals were harmed. It was, it's we had it in sort of layers. You see the sheep doing sheepy things, and they're kind of controlled with the shepherd and the animal handlers. And then as we come in, and you see the more gruesome, brutal elements, it's sheep puppets. So we had these two puppets made. One was like a beanbag puppet that Chris would like carry around on his shoulders, or we sort of place in shot here and there. And then we had this kind of puppeteered animatronic sheep, which would move its ears and its head and its legs with its hind legs cut off. And then we embellished them with VFX.
Yeah. I want to talk about the dedication of these two actors in the film. I mean, Barry, we know Barry's work is just so committed to every role. Chris is so committed, actually, that you probably know this. Last year, he hurt his leg really bad in a play, and then did the play on crutches.
Yeah, yeah.
Instead of
Yeah.
instead
Doesn't
of
surprise
stepping
me.
down.
Literally, yeah. I literally did that. Yeah.
Chris, because working with the sheep, and finding out that they all have personalities.
Yeah.
We were just saying how clever they were, wasn't we?
Yeah, really smart.
What was this experience like for you? And also, we should mention that you're an American actor who is so convincing, not only as Irish, but you also speak Gaelic.
Mm-hmm.
What a challenge.
Yeah.
I mean,
No, definitely intimidated. I mean, when I talked to Chris about it originally, I was like, "Do you want us to get someone Irish to do it?" But I felt sort of honored that he wanted, and every actor, Barry too. Like you always sort of look for challenges, because then otherwise, we all have ADD and we get bored. So it's like if we don't feel like we're being sort of pushed in any sort of way, So yeah, I mean, really, for the dialect and for the language, it was really academic in terms of like the lead up to shooting the movie. Patter Cox was the dialect and language coach, and we just, I said before, it sort of felt like school, So it was a little tedious, but it's like it's you kind of have to do that tedious work so that when you show up to set, you can feel free to play and have fun, So yeah, it was just a bit of studying, really, but it was great. And the sheep, yeah, love the sheep.
The sheep also spoke Irish, right?
They spoke a different dialect, yeah.
Barry, I was going to ask you about the directors that you've worked with in your career, and
Yeah.
everyone who knows your work. I mean, the legends: Christopher Nolan, Yorgos. Martin McDonough, Emerald Fennell
Yeah.
for Saltburn.
They're like, I'm blessed. I really am, and Chris as well. To have Chris now, that was his first feature movie. Yeah, I'll be sending you emails, going, hey, is the script ready?
But is it, in some ways, is it as exciting or maybe even more exciting? You're working with an established like legend like Christopher Nolan, working with a first timer who is doing this and is embarking.
Mm-hmm.
This is the beginning of a major career here. What's that like? Being a part of that.
For me, it's always about it's not about the scale of the movie, the budget. If anything, it's quite intimidating when the budget's massive, and sometimes I get to feel like I don't get to feel I express or get the creative juices going enough because there's so much to it. And a movie like this is a lot more intimate. There's a lot more, required. Like, you gotta bring vulnerability forward. There's a lot more of a safe space, and there's just a lot more time to be in that zone and that flow, to be happening, consistently. And um so it's not about the scale, and that's not to say I don't want to do big scale movies, but it's not about that for me. It's about it goes to the story and to, what part of my career I'm in. What have I done previously that I can, counter this and show range and um really step into it and challenge. As Chris said, challenge is all I want. I don't want to show up and do something that I could do in my sleep. And I always want to find a challenge or a physicality or
How did you guys discuss the film before you were making it? Because it's a simple but deceptively simple plot, and actually there's a really amazing thing where the perspective switches, and I don't want to give that away, but I loved it, that element of it. How did you discuss the characters together? Did you go deep into? This is a movie a lot about their backstory, even though we don't get much flashback material at all. What was it like discussing these guys and the motivations and what brought them here?
I think most of it was in the script. It's on the page, and then it's kind of self-explanatory in a lot of ways. And then we just talked about the type of men that they were. Talk about. I'm really interested in work. The way that we're defined by what we do. How we spend our days, and how we walk, how we hold ourselves, how our hands feel. And so we talked a lot about work, and we talked a lot about what the day's routine would be like, and then the relationships within the household. About Chris's relationship with his father, Colm, and just what that space had been like without a mother in it, and just holding this, a secret between them, and similarly with Barry, about that dynamic of his family, and being, he's a young character, but when you're working in those environments, and it's a family business. You don't leave. You grow into that family, and you don't fly the nest. You don't explore, and you don't develop in that sense. You have to stay because you're the next generation, and you're going to carry that weight and that burden. So there's kind of this sort of strangeness in their relationship where Barry's character, is a young character, but he's a man, and he's in this house with his parents who are struggling to keep the ship afloat. So, there was a lot there to mine, but it's kind of easy, I think.
Tell us about working with Colm Meaney, who plays your dad, and I think your scenes are entirely in Gaelic between the two of you.
Almost, yeah. No, I mean, Colin's a legend, especially in Ireland. He's and I've seen him over the years in so many movies, and he always just sort of brings it. So it's just like one of those guys when you grow up and you've seen him in so many films, and you finally kind of get to work with him. It's all it's exciting, and then on top of just doing the scenes with him and getting to act, he's just a fun time outside of that. He's has a laugh, and he's a great storyteller, and I just like hanging out with him.
Last night was the premiere, and something about being here in Toronto when you get this audience, they just love seeing movies, and you don't even know what the plot is before they go in. They don't know who the actors even might be. What is it like for you? I mean, Barry, there's something about being in an environment like this filled with film lovers and
Yeah.
filmmakers.
But for me, it's a celebration. Trying to be an actor growing up, or a filmmaker, or whatever it is you may want to be. Can get looked upon and not as a real job. So getting to be in a community of people that is getting recognized and celebrating, and everyone's kind of clicking, and it's just beautiful. It's a space that just doesn't feel real, but it's starting to feel real now. Yeah. So it's just a gorgeous feeling.
How about for you, Chris? Just
Oh.
being here and experiencing it almost feel it's dreamlike.
Completely, it's a joy. I mean, the whole city's kind of abuzz with the festival. There's so many films, so many people here, and there's such a warmth and enthusiasm for cinema, and the audience. The audiences are just like electric. They just want it to succeed, and it played like gangbusters last night. Yeah, they really connected with it, and there was laughs and gasps, and it was like there was a conversation, there was a relationship between the audience and the screen, and that's it's so beautiful, and it was real privilege to be here.
Also, I don't want to obviously give away too much of the plot or certainly how it ends, but there's a lot of conversation that's going to happen among the audience members after it's over. And maybe Chris, we'll get to wrap up in a minute, but finish up by saying what are your hopes for this material and how it's going to be digested and talked about and argued about, maybe even by all the audiences that see it.
Well, I think it's just that. Like you hope that exact thing happens, and I mean, the thing is, we do these movies, and so much of the life of it afterwards is more or less out of your hands. So you can only sort of hope that people just respond to it, and this movie is a very specific world and location and story, but there's so many sort of themes in it that I think are obviously very universal and relatable. So, I think I just hope people see it. Yeah.
I want to congratulate the three of you, honestly, on quite a masterful piece of work, and I'm looking
Thank you
forward
very
to
much.
many more, Chris,
Thank you, appreciate that.
in the
Me
future.
too, hopefully.
Thank you all for coming.
Appreciate it. Thank
Cheers.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.